So Robbie, before we look ahead to tomorrow's home clash against Worksop, we'll just briefly look back over the festive period, and it was a festive period with mixed fortunes, wasn't it?
Yeah, it almost certainly was, Ben, but I want to start by congratulating the group of players who consistently over the first 24 games have been absolutely unbelievable. Their work rate, their desire, their application, their attitude has been absolutely first class. And going into the New Year's Day game against Hyde, obviously on the back of a very poor performance, our worst performance of the season. I'll go into why in a minute. It was a great reaction, but in general, the group have been absolutely magnificent. If somebody said to us going into the Hyde game, you'll be 13 points clear at the top of the league, only losing 2 games and drawing 3. You've had great victories. You would have taken it. There was a disappointment and a disbelief in the Boxing Day performance. It's the first time when I've come away thinking, what on earth has gone on? And as a manager and as a management team, you question yourselves. Did I pick the right team? Did I do everything right? Did I try everything in the game to try and get a result? The crowd, the atmosphere was amazing, the big crowd. Then you just think, the Marine performance with a big crowd, and then the next biggest crowd was against Leek. Did that affect us? You look at everything. Did I pick the right team? Should I have played Trey? So again, you look at everything and thinking, right, why? Why did that happen, and will it happen again? So when we got the stats back from Leek, I pride myself, we pride ourselves on our work ethic and our application. If you've got the best players, which I believe we have in numerous positions, and we've got the best squad in the league, if those players apply themselves, which they've done all season, and they run harder, work harder, win duels and give everything, we'll win more games than not. And that's proved to be the case. Mickleover, we lost the game. It was one of those nights. Our stats were in terms of high intensity meters covered was the best. I think it was around 1,507, and we're averaging about 1,400 in that area. And our high distance covered in as a whole was about averaging 4,300, and we were 5,200 against Mickleover. Take into account the chances missed, hitting the bar and the pole several times. You come away, and after the game, you're thinking, do you know what, lads, you give everything. You applied yourselves unbelievably well. You've repaired right. It was one of those nights. No problem. Brush ourselves down. We go again, which we did, and we had a reaction. So the league performance, you're going home, you're sitting there, you can't believe what's happened. Then when you get the stats, and you're thinking, right, all season, the message, consistent message is if we work harder than the opposition, which we have to, and we got the best players, we'll win more games than not. The stats coming from the Leek game, the average of about 4,300, 400 was 3,100. And the average high distance meters covered in sprints was about, the average is 1,400. We were 1,500 and something against Mickleover. We were 775. So that for me was alarming. That was for me, have we applied ourselves correctly? Have we prepared right? Have we been too complacent? Because those stats were unacceptable as a whole, as a group. So we addressed that going into Hyde, and I've said to them in no uncertain terms that, listen, whatever the result against Hyde, if we apply ourselves like we've done for the 23 out of 24 games of this season, we'll be fine. Because if you've got, as I've said numerous times, if you've got the best players who work exceptionally hard, the top teams in the world have done it. They've got the best players, they work hard, and that's why they're at the top. If you work as hard as you've done in previous games, we'll be all right today, because I believe we've got better players. We won the game 5-2. The stats come back. We sprinted the most we have all season, 1,605, way above the average and the highest of the season. And we had nearly 5,000 in distance covered in high intensity. So again, that said to me, they had a reaction. They've worked exceptionally hard. The better players won the game because they worked hard. So again, there was no panic. There was a disbelief in the performance, taking nothing away from Leek because they deserved to win the game and deserved to win it by more. But again, the reaction we had was unbelievable. It was a bit alarming that there was 1 or 2 boos as well at that group and myself. considering what we've done so far, and we've achieved nothing yet. We haven't won anything. And if we can run harder, faster, cover more distance in sprinting than the opposition, we'll win more games than not from now to the end of the season. That will give us a great platform to get promoted. If we don't, and we perform like we did against Leek in terms of the work ethic, we'll struggle and we won't win the league. So the message is clear, and they've responded unbelievably well, and they are an amazing group. And we know that for Macclesfield Football Club to win a game of football, because of the opposition, how hard they work, it's harder than anybody else. So again, the reaction we were absolutely delighted with, but we know going into the game tomorrow against Worksop under Craig, so effective, fantastic team, it's going to be very difficult.
You've touched quite a bit on the Leek performance. How important is it that performance is an anomaly and it's our only performance where, as you mentioned, the stats are not up to the desired effect?
Yeah, I said going to Hyde, I hope there is an anomaly. The performance against Mickleover, you can't complain. You were there, Ben. Our fans were there. We were magnificent, but we weren't clinical. You know, if any of those shots is an inch either side of the post, you know, on the inside of the post, we win the game. You know, we can't create that many chances on a consistent basis and not take them, and then you'll get punished. Mickleover punished us. The worrying thing against Leek was we didn't create any chances. I think we had 2. That was the worry, where this team, and if you're looking at most games, Prescott Cables, game should be finished. A 2-1 should be finished. And a team like us, we can create 15 to 20 chances and score 2 or 3, where the opposition, look at the Hyde's first goal, throw in, centre forward comes off, into his feet, he's allowed to turn, one pass, in behind us, goal. We never score goals like that. We have to work and work and work to get space, to get opportunities, and we work on it consistently in training to get those opportunities, and we have to be more clinical. Listen, Danny Elliott, 23 goals, unbelievable. Damani, he got 12. Dawson, I think he's got 9. But all these players should have more goals because the amount of chances we create. And again, what we're seeing against Hyde, you've seen it yourself, a 2-1, we have numerous chances, we keep missing, they equalise. But then the mentality of the group, relentless in terms of creating chances, we have to take them. And tomorrow against Worksop, we will create opportunities. If we don't take them, Worksop have got the capability and the players to punish us. So again, the message is clear. Be more clinical, be more ruthless. We work on systems, we work on shapes, but it's all about players, decision making. Decision making has to be better in the final third. We have to pick out the right pass. And if we do that, more times than not, we'll score more goals in that position because that's the quality of player we got.
You touched briefly on the opposition tomorrow. Worksop, Saj, you beat in your first game in charge as manager of the football club. We know what we're going to expect from them, don't we?
Yeah, listen, when you say you beat, we beat.
Well, yeah,
we beat. You know, it was the players' desire and the last minute goal. Listen, the draw would have been fair on the day, Ben. I thought they were a very, very good side. They've changed formation. You know, I've watched their games, their last 3 or 4 games. Craig's got them. They had a little bit of a blip, but they've recovered really well, scoring goals again. The 3 up top, they play in Martins, Hughes and Burrow. Very effective, you know, whether it's a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1 with Hall playing as the 10. They're very, very effective. And if we're not on it and we have a performance like Leek, they'll win the game. But if we can be at our best and dynamic, you know, creative with our pace, we can really hurt them. So again, I've said to the players, we'll select teams on who we play against. So there will be a different lineup from the game against Hyde. We'll show them massive respect because they deserve it. Craig's got them, you know, doing very, very well again. You know, you look at the top of the table, all top 7 teams won, you know, on New Year's Day. You can't drop points at this stage of the season. Listen, we're in a position where people say, well, Mac have won the league, you know, the 13 points clear. No, the league. If we have league performances, we won't win the league. If you have performances and desire and application and attitude with our players, yes, we will. It's as simple as that. You know, the biggest level in football, Ben, is running. If you've got good players who are prepared and are willing to work as hard as they possibly can every single training session, every single game, you'll have an opportunity. If they don't, you can see what happens against Leek. Because let's be fair, Leek, were brilliant on the day. Their players probably played to their maximum, where our players were probably, as the stat showed, miles off it. Worksop will be here thinking about that opening day, thinking about that they could have taken all 3 points, knowing that we'd beat them here in the playoffs. But we've got a game plan, as we always do. We'll try and nullify the opposition, but not take away our attacking threats as well. So, of course, we can change systems, we can change shape, but it's about players. Systems against Leek. We talk about systems. We tried 3 different ones. None of them worked. But when you look at the stats, it's about players. It's always about players. So again, our players will be ready. So will Worksop. And all I can say about them, they're a very, very good side, Ben. You look at the top 5. You look at ourselves. You look at guys. You look at Worksop. You look at Ilkeston. You look at Ashton. Those 5, I think, are top teams, and anybody can beat anybody on their day. And if we're not on it, we're not at it, Worksop will come here and they will turn us over. I've got no doubt about that. But if we're at it and we're as good as we've been all season, we'll be a real handful for anybody. I believe we can beat anybody on our day. So we know what they're going to do. We know how they're going to play. They're very effective. Set pieces will be key. Set pieces have let us down recently, so we've looked at that. It's about second balls. It's about being switched on. It's about duels. Duels are going to be massive tomorrow. There'll be lots of space for us, I think, to exploit with their shape. So I'm sure Craig's looked at it. They were humble in defeat. Got on really well with Craig, the manager. So tomorrow we go into a game full of confidence. So will they. They're on a great run. But all I'll say to our fans is get behind the team. The outpouring on social media when we get beat is huge. It's like no other team in non-league. But all I ask is for everybody to get behind this group who have been magnificent. And every time we go on the pitch, we have to have that attitude of we need to work hard on the opposition. If we do that, we'll be fine. If we don't, it'll be a long second half of the season. But we're ready for it. The lads are magnificent. Obviously, John Rooney has had this bug. He was struggling. For John to miss training, he never misses anything. All the minutes he plays, he's been a massive miss because he's been such a positive influence on the group, and his performances have been brilliant. He's really on board with what we're trying to achieve, and he's been a great influence in the group. So again, we think John's a doubt tomorrow. Again, Dante is had his first training session after having concussion. So it's great to see Dante back in the 18 in squad. Elliot Whitehouse is in the 18 squad as well, but he has yet to play a match, so he's going to need to get minutes, whether it's in our 21s or out on loan. Eddie Mieko has been hit with a bug as well. I think he was in bed for 6 consecutive days, so again that's taken a lot out of him. But again, we've had a conversation with Eddie, who's been brilliant for us but needs minutes, whether that's with our 21s or at another club. That's with a discussion with Eddie, but he's been brilliant. Tom, obviously, we know Tom at the minute, his success off the field has been brilliant, and he's got to continue with that because he's doing so well off the pitch, and he's in it. He's doing brilliantly well. So again, because of that situation at the minute, we can't offer Tom, the minutes he desires. So again, Tom is not in the squad, but he continues to come training when he can. Who else is there, Ben? I'm looking at the list. Oh, James Edmondson, his loan's up on the 8th of Jan. We're in discussions with Blackburn right now to see if we can extend it. So I think we'll have a decision early next week. And I think that's it, Ben, in terms of the players who haven't been involved. But again, is there room to bring any fresh faces in? That all depends on who goes out and this James situation. But I've had communication with 1 or 2 in the event of players going out and James going back. So we're in a good position. The lads have been magnificent, Ben. You know it, I know it. And I just urge the fans, whatever the result tomorrow, as long as our fans and I say the desire, which we've done for 23 out of 24 games this season, there tomorrow, whatever the result, we'll applaud them off and we'll congratulate them on what they've achieved so far. But the end goal is to win the league. I'll say it again. Apply ourselves like we have in 23 to 24 games, we'll be fine. If we don't, it's going to be a long second half of the season. But do you know what? I believe in this group so much quality, and they have been absolutely magnificent. We'll see all the fans tomorrow. The support at Hyde was amazing. The performance at Hyde was amazing. And we look forward to another huge crowd, hopefully over 3,000, supporting that magnificent group on.
And just one thing finally, obviously we often talk about the development and the pathway that we can provide young players. Young Henry McNulty's signed on a dual registration for 1874 Northwich. That's got to be really good for his development as a young player as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, but it's important they play, Ben. There's no point going to clubs if you're not going to play minutes. It's important that, even if it's under 21 football, at our level, that they play, they play games. Of course, going out on loans is invaluable to any young player. Look at James, how James thrived in this environment in front of big crowds. And for Henry, who's done brilliant, there's a number of players, my Freddie, Jamie Walker, so many players in that 21s who could go out and experience men's football. But they've got to play. They've got to play minutes. There's no point, taking a young lad on loan if you haven't got a pathway from at your football club and give him minutes. So again, I'm sure Henry's time will come with Northwich. But because he's on a dual reg, that means he can also get his minutes if he's not in our 21s, which he's thrived in. So again, we're always looking at the young players. We're always looking at pathways. Tom Morris, who's part of our youth setup, who's been brilliant. We'll always monitor those youngsters and try and give them pathways. And Henry and Freddie and Jamie Walker and all the 21s, who I think are second or third in the league at the minute, under Nick, who's doing a great job with them, need to play minutes. And if that's here or elsewhere, then we're always up for that opportunity for those young lads.